Andrew Schulz destroys Charlamagne's fragile ego.
There's no bigger place to go in the business than Joe Rogan right now.
The Breakfast Club is pretty big.
Fam, stop it.
You think Joe Rogan's bigger than Breakfast Club?
10 times your size.
Why do you think that?
Hold on, you really think that your platform is bigger than Rogan?
Just as big, easily.
Come on, let's have a nice humbling experience for you.
And by the way, I'm not saying bigger. I'm saying we just as big. If I don't see why you would think otherwise. But
you have a massive platform, and it's one of the most.
This is just Angela's rumor report. 204,000, 205,000, 380,000, 241,000. Those are just the rumor reports.
Right.
And these interviews right here, I haven't even named anybody.
You can have a smaller platform than someone else.
I'm competitive just like you, but it's not smaller. It's not.
Okay, it's not. It's not smaller.
No more bookings for Andrew Schulz on Breakfast Club. Let's see how many times he gets back on Joe Rogan.
It doesn't matter. You both can have a massive followings, man. You both can have incredible influence in the world. And it is. And if you don't want to have me on Breakfast Club, that's fine, man. I'm not asking.
This episode of Brilliant Idiots remains an interesting case study into the dynamic between Charlamagne and Andrew Schulz. For many years, Andrew was the little bro to Charlamagne's dynamic media persona. Often appearing on Charlamagne's 2010s MTV shows, Andrew Schulz clearly had potential. However, who would have thought he would pass his big bro in such short order? His appearance on Joe Rogan and over-the-top humor seemed built for the new era of post-pandemic comedy that prioritized political commentary and willingness to poke fun at society's ills. His show Flagrant 2 has now surpassed Brilliant Idiots, and while many people say it's his skin color that unlocked his growth, it's important to remember that many viewed Andrew as a Charlamagne lackey and someone ultimately destined to live in his shadow. That is no longer the case. And in this episode of Brilliant Idiots, the veneer of a mentor-mentee relationship would collapse as Schulz would challenge Charlamagne, like Anakin did in Revenge of the Sith. Andrew would say something apparent to anyone watching media over the last 5 years. Joe Rogan was bigger than the Breakfast Club. This rattled Charlamagne to his core. He simply could not fathom that the truth was hitting him in the face, and that the messenger was someone he helped build. Charlamagne's ego was so hurt that he pivoted towards stating random facts and was more invested in maintaining the Charlamagne persona instead of coming to terms with the reality that Joe Rogan was a far bigger platform than the Breakfast Club, and that Rogan owned his, unlike him. Things get even more cringy when Charlamagne's producer, Taylor, uses a site called Social Blade to dispute Schultz's argument. For those of you that don't know, Social Blade is a site that tracks the popularity of YouTube channels, and most people with a YouTube channel know that it isn't exactly accurate. However, it's all Charlamagne had to construct his weak argument. Throughout this back and forth, Charlamagne makes countless threats to not have Andrew Schulz back on the Breakfast Club, as a result of his assertion that Rogan was bigger than his show. Yeah, it seems like jokes, but let's be real, there have been countless references to how the Breakfast Club would stop many a guest from getting interviews on their platform. In this back and forth, however, it looks like Schulz knows he made a terrible mistake and that he broke a law of power. He outshines his former master, as he would almost be brought to tears reflecting on the positive things Charlamagne had done for him.
I mean this, and it almost gets me emotional. You've given me so much. Not in terms of just a platform and access to people, but like I've learned so much from. I don't want to be a little bit,
man.
But yeah. But I've learned so much. I love you, man.
The fuck, man. I love you.
Yeah.
While the gap between the Breakfast Club and Joe Rogan was significant at the time of this episode, it has only since widened, with Rogan's YouTube channel having 3.4 billion views and the Breakfast Club coming in around 3 billion. Sure, that might seem close, but when you factor in that Rogan had a Spotify exclusivity deal and that Rogan has almost 8,000 less uploads, it's alarmingly clear that Schulz was simply right. And the largest unbearable truth is Rogan's last 2 deals netting him $400 million, whereas Charlamagne's deals are likely not made public because they could never compare to a fraction of that. And yes, Rogan's reach is likely due to the same reasons New Kids on the Block outsold New Edition, but the facts are the facts. Still, The future remains murky for these two men. Yes, they host Brilliant Idiots together, but one could argue that it isn't their priority, and it shows in the way each treats the platform. Charlamagne is too political, and Schulz is alarmingly aware that his one-time mentor who taught him the ropes is now a shell of what he once was. With Schulz seemingly destined for greener pastures, how long will the sidekick turned lead singer stick around?